They call me the Lady in Red. It's not my name. It never was. But after so many decades, I've stopped correcting them. When you're a story whispered among staff, a shadow caught in a guest's peripheral vision, a face reflected in an empty hallway mirror, the truth of who you were fades. Only the color remains. Every night I walk these halls. The hotel is never truly asleep. Even at 3 in the morning, the air hums with the soft whir of the elevators, the low murmur of water moving through old pipes, the faint click of a lock turning somewhere down the corridor. My heels tap against the marble floor, a sound so sharp it seems to echo forever. The walls breathe it in, the carpets swallow it whole. I always wear the same dress, silk, deep crimson, cut in the style of the 1940s. It fits my body as though it remembers me, draping over curves that the living no longer see. The skirt brushes the back of my calves, the fabric whispering with every step. In the dim glow of the wall sconces, the red catches gold, then slips back into shadow. Sometimes the night is quiet. I walk past empty rooms, each door closed and locked. Other times, I pass a guest returning late, perhaps from the lounge, perhaps from something they wouldn't want to explain. Their eyes slide over me without pause, and I know in that moment they don't truly see me. But every so often, someone does. Their gaze snags on mine, lingers a second too long, and I feel that delicious shiver of recognition. I don't haunt every guest. I choose. You might think I select the cruel ones, the liars, the men who take what isn't theirs. And yes, sometimes I do, but not always. Sometimes I choose the ones who simply look like they might understand. The hotel staff have given me many names over the years. The woman in 214, the elevator girl, the red guest. They say I knock softly on doors at 2 a.m., but when the guest opens it, the hallway is empty. They say I've been seen riding the elevator alone, gliding out without a sound, leaving the faint scent of jasmine behind. They say the temperature drops when I pass, that the lights flicker in my wake. I don't deny it. This hotel was my stage long before it became my prison. I knew its every inch when I was alive. The polished wood of the lobby bar, the velvet banquettes in the lounge, the brass railings that curved along the mezzanine. I knew the best spot to stand so the chandelier light would catch my dress just so. And I know them still. Every creak in the floorboards, every draft that slips through the window frames, every shadow that doesn't belong. You may think you're safe here, surrounded by gilded walls and the comfort of other guests sleeping nearby. But if you hear the soft tap of heels in the hallway, steady and unhurried, drawing closer with each step, stop and listen, because it might be me checking in. And I always check in alone. Before I was the lady in red, I was simply Evelyn. It was 1947 and the world felt like it was moving faster than anyone could keep up. Jazz spilled out of radios, the war had ended, and Chicago was alive with possibility. For a girl with a voice and a dream, there was no better place to be than the Grand Hotel on Michigan Avenue, the kind of place where every night felt like a scene from a movie. I wasn't rich, I wasn't from some glamorous family, but I had my voice, a decent wardrobe, and a stubbornness that could break brick. I started singing in the lounge on Thursday nights, just a few songs, filling the space between the clink of glasses and the soft laughter of businessmen, entertaining women who weren't their wives. The hotel was intoxicating. The moment you stepped through the revolving doors, the smell of polished wood, perfume, and expensive cigars wrapped around you like a silk scarf. Light spilled from the chandeliers like liquid gold. The marble floors reflected every sparkle from the guests' jewelry, and the air hummed with secrets. My dress, the one you see me in now, was my talisman. Deep red satin, the shade of wine that catches the light just before it turns to darkness. It wasn't expensive, I found it secondhand, altered it myself. But when I wore it, heads turned. I felt untouchable, desired, alive. That was when I met him. He was older, with the kind of confidence that money buys and morality cannot. He had a laugh that filled the room and eyes that could pin you in place. He watched me from the same corner table every week, sipping whiskey as if it were part of some ritual. When he finally spoke to me, it was as though he'd been rehearsing. Compliments poured from his lips, smooth as the bourbon on his breath. At first, I believed him, believed the stories about his business trips, his lonely evenings, his admiration for my voice. I believed the way he looked at me meant something more than passing interest. And for a while, I was happy to let myself be kept. Dinners in the best restaurants, jewelry in velvet boxes, promises that glittered as brightly as the chandeliers above us. But the hotel has a way of showing you the truth. It seeps through the walls, drips from the ceiling, lurks in the reflection of a polished brass railing. I began to see the cracks in his charm, the flashes of temper, the way he leaned too close to other women when he thought I wasn't looking, the way his grip on my arm tightened just a bit too much when I tried to walk away. Still, I stayed. Maybe it was vanity, maybe it was fear, or maybe it was the hotel itself. Those endless corridors, those heavy doors, whispering that there was nowhere else to go. I was Evelyn then, a singer in a red dress, trying to pretend she was in control. But that was before the last night, before the music stopped, before the red became something else entirely. It was winter when it happened. One of those Chicago nights when the wind slices right through your coat and the lake seems to breathe cold into the city. Inside the hotel, though, everything was warm. The chandeliers poured light across the marble floors, the fire crackled in the lounge, and the air was thick with the scent of whiskey and cigar smoke. I remember the song I was singing, a slow ballad, something sweet but aching. My voice drifted through the room like smoke, curling into the corners where shadows leaned against the walls. He was in his usual seat, back in the corner, glass in hand, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. When the song ended, the applause came, polite and measured. I smiled, thanked them, and stepped away from the microphone. That's when I felt his hand on my arm, firm, possessive. "Come with me," he said. No smile, no explanation. I tried to protest. There was another set to finish, but his grip tightened. He led me out of the lounge, past the front desk where the clerk suddenly found something else to look at, and into the elevator. The mirrored walls reflected my dress in endless fragments, each one more distorted than the last. We rose to the top floor. The air in the hallway felt colder here, quieter. He didn't speak until we reached the far end, where a small stairwell led up to the roof terrace. "What's wrong?" I asked. His eyes were dark, hard. "I saw you talking to him." It took me a moment to realize who he meant, a traveling salesman who'd bought me a drink earlier that week. "He's just a guest," I said. The words did not calm him. His voice rose, echoing off the plaster walls. The hotel seemed to listen, its silence thickening. I glanced toward the door, wondering if anyone could hear. And then, the shove. It wasn't hard at first, just enough to make me stumble back. But my heel caught on the edge of the stair, and the world tilted. I remember the gasp tearing from my throat, the sudden blur of golden light and black railing, the cold rush of air as I fell. When I hit the landing, there was no pain, just silence. The kind that feels like a held breath. I looked up, expecting to see him standing over me, but he was gone. The music from the lounge drifted faintly up the stairwell. Laughter, glasses clinking, life going on as though I had simply stepped out of it. I stood, though I hadn't felt myself rise, and smoothed my dress. My shoes made no sound on the marble. When I looked into the elevator mirror, my reflection was pale, my eyes a little too dark, my edges blurred as though I were standing in fog. And in that moment, I knew I hadn't left the hotel. I never would. The first time someone saw me after I died, they didn't realize what they were looking at. It was a young man, a traveling salesman, staying in room 214, the very room where he, the man who killed me, used to sleep when business brought him to the city. The salesman was standing at the sink, steam curling from the hot water, his razor poised against his cheek. The bathroom mirror was fogged save for a small oval where his reflection stared back. And then, for just a second, my face appeared beside his. He didn't scream, not at first. He just froze, eyes widening as he saw the edge of my red dress drifting into view in the mirror's misty glass. I tilted my head, let my lips curl into the faintest smile. His gaze darted to the empty doorway behind him. Nothing there. Then snapped back to the mirror, and I was gone. I didn't know why I did it. Maybe curiosity. Maybe the thrill of seeing someone react to me, acknowledge me. For so long after that night, I had walked these halls unseen, unheard, as though the hotel had swallowed me whole. But in that moment, when our eyes met in the glass, I felt almost alive again. After that, I began to test my reach. Sometimes I would knock softly at a door in the middle of the night. When the guest opened it, they'd find the hallway empty, or so they thought. I'd stand just outside their line of sight, close enough for the scent of jasmine to slip past them, close enough for the temperature to dip. The staff noticed too. The night porter claimed he saw me glide past the front desk at 2 a.m., my reflection shimmering in the polished marble floor. The elevator boy swore he once held the door for me, only to find no one inside when it reached the top floor. But I always came back to room 214. There was something about that space. The heavy velvet curtains, the antique writing desk, the creak of the floorboard near the bed, that called to me. Maybe it was because I had spent so many nights there, wrapped in promises that would never be kept. Maybe it was because his ghost, if such a thing exists, still lingered there too. One night, a woman checked into 214. She was alone, her suitcase small, her eyes tired. I watched her unpack from the corner of the room, my presence barely a shadow. She paused once, glancing toward where I stood, her brow furrowed as though she'd caught a movement she couldn't explain. That night, she dreamed of me. I know she did because in the morning she left in a rush, her face pale, her hands trembling as she handed back her key. The desk clerk asked if something had happened. She only said, "There was someone else in the room." I never followed her. I didn't need to. The hotel always brings new guests, and every new guest brings a new chance. A chance to be seen, a chance to be remembered, a chance to remind them that not all the hotel's guests are alive. Some guests check in for a night and never leave, not in the way you might think. Their names vanish from the registry, their luggage disappears from the room, and yet, if you walk these halls long enough, you'll feel them. The air will shift, heavy with a presence that doesn't belong to the living. I've had my favorites. There was a man in the early 1950s, handsome young, wearing a suit that smelled faintly of mothballs and ambition. He'd come for a business meeting, but spent the evening in the lounge, nursing drink after drink. I found him at the bar, his tie loosened, his eyes glassy. I smiled at him, that slow, deliberate smile I'd perfected on stage, and asked if he'd walk me to the elevator. He followed without question. The elevator's mirrored walls caught the flicker of the golden light, reflecting us in infinite fragments. I didn't speak. Neither did he. We stepped out on the top floor, where the carpet muffled our footsteps. I led him down a hallway that didn't seem to end. His voice trembled when he finally asked where we were going. I turned, let him see the shimmer in my eyes, and whispered, "Somewhere you can stay." He was never seen again by the living, but sometimes, late at night, guests in 314 hear faint footsteps pacing and a low murmur, as though someone is still rehearsing a conversation they'll never finish. Then there was the woman in the green dress, decades later. She was curious, the kind who asks questions the staff pretend not to hear. She'd read about me, about the lady in red, and she wanted to see me for herself. She even booked room 214 on purpose. That night, she left her door unlocked. I didn't make her wait long. She sat in the armchair by the window facing the hallway. The lamp beside her flickered once, twice, and then I was there, standing in the doorway. She smiled, triumphant, as if she'd won some game. "You're real," she breathed. I stepped inside. The door swung shut behind me without a sound. No one saw her check out in the morning. The bed was untouched, her suitcase gone. But the chair by the window still held the faintest imprint, as though someone had been sitting there only moments before. The staff know not to ask too many questions. They've learned that the hotel has its own way of keeping guests. Some say the missing ones wander these halls like I do, caught between check-in and check-out forever. Others whisper that I take them somewhere else entirely, a place with no doors, no clocks, and no way back. The truth? I don't keep everyone. Only the ones who follow me without hesitation. Only the ones who don't look away when I meet their gaze. If you're here long enough, you'll understand. The hotel doesn't belong to the living. It belongs to those of us who never left, and we're always looking for company. So if you hear the soft click of heels behind you, don't turn around, or do. If you follow me, you won't need to check out, because you'll already be home. Meta, if you see me, you'll know. It won't be the color of my dress that gives me away, though the red will catch your eye, even in the dimmest light. It won't be the sound of my heels either, though they'll echo in the hall long after I've stopped walking. No, it will be the way the air changes, the way it thickens, heavy and cold, making every breath feel just a little harder. I might be at the end of the corridor, standing perfectly still beneath the glow of a wall sconce. My face will be shadowed, my hands folded loosely in front of me. You'll glance once, think nothing of it. But when you look again, I'll be closer. Or perhaps you'll find me in the elevator. The doors will open and there I'll be, alone, smiling faintly as if I've been waiting for you. You'll step inside because that's what people do. You'll press your floor, the doors will close, and then you'll notice there's no button for the lobby anymore. Sometimes I like to watch from the lounge. You won't see me at first, not with the lights low and the music humming softly in the background. But then, as you glance toward the mirrored wall, You'll realize there's someone in the reflection who isn't sitting at any table. Someone in a red dress staring right at you. You'll tell yourself you imagined it. You didn't. If you decide to follow me, and you will eventually, it won't be because I've asked. I never do. You'll follow because something inside you will insist that you must, that the woman in red knows something you've been searching for. Maybe you'll see me turn down a hallway you've never noticed before. Maybe you'll catch the faint scent of jasmine as you pass an open door. Maybe you'll hear the click of my heels fading around the corner. And then you'll follow. We'll walk together for a while, you and I, until the familiar part of the hotel falls away. The lighting will dim. The carpet will feel softer underfoot, almost like velvet. The air will grow so still you'll hear your own heartbeat. You might even reach for my shoulder, but when you do, the hall will be empty. You'll find yourself standing before a door you don't remember passing, room 214. The key will be in your hand. You won't know how it got there, but you'll use it. Inside, the air will be colder than the hall. The curtains will stir, though the windows are shut. The mirror above the dresser will show two figures. One will be you, the other will be me. And when you turn around, I'll be standing exactly where I've always been, close enough to touch. So if you ever stay in this hotel and you see a woman in a red dress, don't follow her. Or do. Just understand, if you see me, it's already too late.